is supposed to be about. And I'll give you another example. As part of his love of the oligarchy, Donald Trump and his Republican friends gave us the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. In my view, that bill is the most dangerous piece of legislation passed in the modern history of the United States. It is a vulgar piece of legislation, and anyone who voted for that bill should not be returned to office. At a time of massive income and wealth inequality, that bill gave $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%, $900 billion in tax breaks for large, profitable corporations. Now that is vulgar, but what is even more vulgar is that in order to pay for those huge tax breaks, they cut Medicaid by $1 trillion and cut the Affordable Care Act, the result being that some 15 million Americans are going to lose the health care that they have, including hundreds of thousands right here in Michigan. So you got one reality, people on top, enormously powerful, doing extraordinarily well, controlling the political system, getting huge tax breaks. And then there is another reality, and that reality is that in the wealthiest nation in the history of the world today, 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. I grew up in a family that lived paycheck to paycheck. Many of you are in families living paycheck to paycheck. And what living paycheck to paycheck is about is every day undergoing the stress of wondering how you're going to feed your kids, pay the rent, go to the doctor if somebody gets sick, and wondering maybe, when you get old, will you be able to have a few bucks in the bank so you can enjoy some kind of security in your old age? And every single day, tens of millions of families are struggling with that stress and with that reality. And you know what that stress does to people? It kills them. Now, what you don't hear much about is that in America today, despite the fact that we are the wealthiest country on earth, our life expectancy, how long we live, is 4 years on average shorter than in other wealthy countries around the world. That is a shame. But I'll tell you what is even more shameful, and you don't know this because you never hear about it. If you are working class in this country, you will live 7 years shorter lives than the wealthy. In other words, the stress that the working class and lower income Americans are dealing with now, it's not just that they don't have a fancy house or a fancy car or they go out to big restaurants. Who cares? What is going on is that stress is actually killing people all across this country who are struggling to survive. And in the richest country on earth, that should not be happening. So our job, it seems to me, is to do what the American people want us to do. And that is to take on Trump every step of the way. But we have got to do more than that. What we need to have, which we don't have, and certainly Republicans don't have it, is they move lockstep into authoritarianism, and the Democrats don't have it because they are also controlled by big money. What we need is a vision for America that works for working people, not just the 1%.